welcome to the, right off, okay. This meeting has begun. Let's welcome to the August Joint Advisory Committee for the Recreation Department. I'm the new chairman, so you'll have to bear with me as I muddle through this. I'll try to smile every now and then. But we'll start off with the approval of last month's minutes. Show of hands for that, for approval. All right, and Larry is joining us via Zoom. I don't see, Larry, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Let me start video. Maybe that'll help.
There you are. Thanks.
Hey, hi guys.
All right. We're just a show of hands for approval for last month's minutes. So you in approval? Okay. And it's unanimous. All right. We'll start off with the amenity reports. And I'm actually first up with the Metfield report. We'll start off, the fitness center looked great. There were a few members using the equipment. The pavilion area was clean and being used by a few members. The park restrooms looked awesome, well stocked. Playground looks great. The new mulch looked great. It wasn't being used at the time, playground was. The pickleball courts were in use and looked great. A lot of young families using the pickleball courts that day. The pool area looks great. There are a few families there whom I actually spoke with, spent quite a bit of time speaking with, all positive. Areas for review, the large plant vases in front of the fitness center were full of cigarettes. I don't, if you've got any suggestions there, great. Other than removing them, which I think they look great there. I'd hate to see them gone, but they were full of cigarettes and cigars. Member interactions, like I said, I spoke with some pickleball players and folks at the pool. The only suggestions they came up with was they'd like more shade areas along the pickleball courts. But otherwise, they're enjoying the use of the amenities. So that's all I have. Next on the agenda is Branchwood Complex and Trail. And that would be Corey, and also Loch Lomond Recreation Complex as well.
Branchwood, the gym and pool were active. Nicole showed me around. She was great. Really passionate about the spot. Really knows. I've been going to Branchwood since we moved here, and I learned that there are racquetball courts underneath it, so that was neat. So everything looked great there. It was really hot the day that I was out there, and so the outside amenities, there was nothing going on, but everything looked really good. The portable toilet by the pickleball courts was in good shape. Playground was in good shape, very clean. The trail looked great. There was nobody on it because it was in the 90s, but it looked good. The disc golf baskets, I missed some of them, but the ones that I saw looked good. Loch Lomond rec area, it was vacant again because it was so hot, but it was being mowed while I was there. Trash cans looked good. There was not any litter on the ground except in the dog park area where there are jugs of, like big jugs of water bottles, like they're storing water there for their dogs so they don't have to walk all the way down to the faucet. But that was the only thing in that area. Areas for review. At Branchwood, when you're walking up to the building where the pool, on the roof, the pool area where it's lower than the main building, the shingles in that crease look wonky. And I'm no roofer, but may need a look there. There are a couple benches that don't look like they belong there at the pickleball courts that are really wobbly. They look like kind of a homemade-ish, but they're really wobbly, like.
Yeah, those are brought by pickleball players.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're not ours. They tend to bring them, and we can't really, keep
Okay.
them away all the time.
we've removed them before and they keep showing back up. So
Okay.
we have very viable benches
Yeah,
that
we
are
have
there.
very good looking benches there. Those look like they could collapse on somebody, but nonetheless, okay. Loch Lomond rec area. The furniture in general looks to be kind of faded. The picnic tables are the worst of it, really. The metal stuff looks old but usable. But the picnic tables, there's a hanging bracket on one of them. It's in a picture that I put in the report. They don't look like they're getting used, and probably would look better to maybe be gone. I don't know. The baseball field looked good. There was a broken fence corner nearest the fish hatchery. There's a picture of it where just the top of the fence is broken off. And then the gazebo looked fine. The bathrooms looked really good. I think they had been cleaned like moments before I got there. Only able to talk to people at Branchwood because there wasn't anybody else anywhere, but it all looked, they were all complimentary. So very good.
So the picnic tables, where, at the pavilion, or are they somewhere else?
There's a picnic table in the large dog area and then a picnic table in the small dog area.
Okay.
Both of them are looking pretty rough, like they don't get used. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Corey.
Do we have a fish hatchery?
All right. Next up is Larry, who is joining us today via Zoom.
Pond,
He'll be reporting on
Culture
Blowing
Pond.
Springs Rec area.
below the dam.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the indulgence. My mother passed a week ago, so I'm out in California dealing with some of that stuff. I went to Blowing Springs on the 4th, which was a Sunday, and it was a little warm. The trails that run through there are basically bike trails, and we're quite busy. A lot of people on their bikes. I spoke at some length with, I believe her name is Susan, who works the booth there. When you go in, and so she's, I think, in charge of the campground. Really nice lady. I asked her what she would indicate should be done, and then I went and verified. And the only thing she talked about was the numbers that are painted on the spaces in the campground where you drive in. They're pretty much faded away, and I agree that they are. She says, the staff knows which number is what, but that could be taken care of. So after I talked to her, I went into the campground and I went up to the gear garden. Everything looked like it was in really good shape other than those numbers. This is really minor. There's a porta potty at the start of that first parking lot where it starts one of the trailheads, and it just didn't have soap in it, in the hand soap thing. It's pretty small. Up at the gear garden, and I attached a picture of this, there's a dispenser for people to fill their water bottles, and it's somewhat corroded and could use a paint job on it, and I included that. Also, the exterior shower at the gear garden didn't work. I used the handle, it just didn't operate. I don't know what the story is with that particular item. Everything else looked really nice and extra shape. The lawn was all mowed, didn't see any trash. There were a few people using the gear garden tables. There's no performance at noon on a Sunday. I didn't talk to any members. I did talk to a guest who was walking her dog and is in the campground and was very complimentary of the facilities and the staff. Somebody from Missouri who's driving around and was using our campground. Campground was about half full, which Susan indicated is pretty typical for August given our weather, and that they tend to get busier in the next couple of months after that. So that's my report.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate your input considering the circumstances.
Thank you.
All right, next up would normally be Brian. He is unable to attend today, and I did not receive amenity reports for both Tyree and Granton at this point. So we'll move on to Lake Avalon Park, which is JP.
Yeah, so I've been away as well. Yeah, I was away, so it's been a while since I went there. But when I don't know what the day was, but I went there on a weekend, and it was great. Do we keep track of how many people visit the beach? Could you share? I'm just interested in how many of people come to that.
Yeah, we keep stats at the pool and the beach.
Okay. I spoke to Riley, who was in the shop there, and he's like, there's no issues or anything. The previous time I went there, I think her name was Lily. Somebody had driven into a car, which was parked up on the top and driven away. And so Riley said, yeah, they found the guy, and they're doing whatever they need to do. She was quite sad. It was quite a new Subaru that she had that this guy drove into. It was kind of sad for her. I went round to the dam side as well, and I don't know what we call those things, the jetties. What do we call the things that are in the dam? Docks. They will almost all have people on them. Some of them fishing, some of them just sunbathing, and it looked really nice out there. People in the water, jumping off into the water and that kind of stuff. So that's all well used as well. The restrooms were great. I have no. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read on my phone because I didn't. Oh, the canoe racks. I mean, there's a lot of those canoes that have just gone. So I think there's 4 of them, and one of them I couldn't find a 24 sticker on, but it might be somewhere on there. But there used to be, it used to be clutter, and so whoever's cleaned that up, thank you. That's really all I have.
All right, thank you, JP. Moving on to Kingsdale Recreation and BVRC is Richard.
Well, I walked over there this morning, used the rec center and kind of walked around the area here while it was sprinkling rain. So there wasn't really too many people around. So I guess with the tennis center, I thought the tennis center was in good shape. The only, I guess, comments I had that there are several overhanging trees on courts 7 and 8 that look like they could be looked at for trimming, possibly. They could be hazardous. Some of them hang over 20 feet, My wife says I shouldn't mention that because she likes the shade, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. The pickleball net on that pickleball court there, where the center post is, it's broken through the top of the net, so it's kind of sagging. And I didn't know whether it would be in the budget to maybe, well, you could repair it fairly easy too, probably, but it's kind of an inexpensive net, and we could replace it with a little bit sturdier net at some point. Might be good. I didn't put this in my report, but when Corey brought it up, there's a couple benches too that look pretty old and hadn't been stained in a long time. One on court 7. I mean, it's pretty sturdy still, but it's just kind of old and not the most attractive. And then there's another one, I think, on court 4, kind of similar. But I don't think they're, health issues or anything, but they're just kind of more aesthetic issues. And the other, I've been getting some questions about Jake. He left and went to coach a Washington college team, I guess. And I guess the questions I'm getting are, what's happening to Jake? Is he going to be replaced? Is he not going to be replaced? And I guess I don't know.
We'll speak to all that in our report.
Okay, good enough. The rec center looked really good. There was a ton of people there this morning working out. I guess I'd mentioned that in the last time I had the report, that there's an overhanging tree in the northeast corner of the north parking lot that's kind of hazardous. I think it's really dead and big, and it could drop on a car at some point, I think, if we don't take a look at that one. The only other issue I had, the new bike rack that's out there, I think it needs to be moved 180 degrees so that the tires of the bikes can go into the little slots for them. I mean, it's not nailed down or anything, but maybe somebody could look at that. I mean, it's fine, but I think it's backwards there on the sidewalk. That's all. The pool looked great. Everything was, mowed recently in the last day or two. Miniature golf course looked good. There's a lot of putters in that putter stand, and I'm wondering whether periodically we might cull some of the older ones out of it, so just, looks a little neater maybe. But I think people might just come and put their used putters in the stand, and so it accumulates over time and kind of becomes an old putter graveyard, Playground looked really good. It was really trimmed up nice, and there was no debris, and wasn't anybody there this morning, but it was raining, kind of sprinkling. So that is all I have, I think, on.
I'll address a few of those things that you brought up, Richard, so I appreciate you for drawing the attention to them. Courts 7 and 8, yes, we do have the trees on the list to be trimmed up, but you're right, it's a mixed bag, because you trim them up, you're gonna lose some shade. Also, power washing and probably those benches, that's all on our list. We're just trying to get through the hard summer, and then as things ease up a little bit in the fall, we will be able to knock some of those things out. So we've already got those things identified, and we'll be working towards them. And something else Oh, pickleball net. Unfortunately, we've spent some big bucks on those pickleball nets, but people don't really take good care of them, and then the wind blows or whatever. So we'll see if we can patch it. And we do have budgets to replace them, but sometimes people aren't taking very good care of them. Fortunately, portable nets are not the greatest. I've spent less money and I've spent more money, and I didn't necessarily get much more bang for my buck for the more money, but we will definitely look at that. So thank you. We'll talk about Jake's resignation and the new tennis pro in our report.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Richard. Moving on to Lake Anne and London Park. Keith is unable to join us today, but he did send me his report, so I'll read those off for him. We'll start with Lake Anne. Visited the 1st of August waterfall bridge and trails in great shape. The loose cable and weed overgrowth have been addressed since July visit, so that's great. A big thank you for that. Covered fishing dock and fish cleaning stations in great shape. All trash cans emptied and bathrooms in good shape. Member interactions. A couple on kayaks moved here from Florida about a year ago. They love it here and can't get over the great amenities and how nice people are. They would not change a thing. Also nice to see a couple young men fishing from the fishing dock. Areas for review, issues on large fishing dock, one dock board showing rot and about to give way. I assume, Rick, you know where that's at. Okay. Another board broken, third board rotted and about to break loose. No pictures available. So 4 boards total, either missing or damaged on the large dock. All right. That covers Lake Anne. And then London Park, visited Thursday. Trash cans look good, bathrooms good and well stocked. Picnic barbecue areas in great shape. Boat dock in good shape and appears recently pressure washed. Fish cleaning station in great shape, but lots of flies. All boats properly registered, except for 3 kayaks. Areas for review, none. Member interactions, none. Additional observations. At some point, we need to consider dredging the area where the creek meets the lake. It is so shallow, it is somewhat unsightly. Pictures included. And that's all I have from Keith. From here, we will move on. Oh, I guess I'm covering Alan as well. Alan is also unable to attend today, so I'll be covering for him. And that is for the trails of Blowing Springs Greenway. Fitness Center, oh, wrong one. What did I do with his? Well, I thought I'd be covering for him. And at the moment, I don't see, oh, here we are. All right. Back 40 Blowing Springs and Little Sugar Trail conditions. All the trails were open. Tunnel vision classed at Bluebird Trailhead. Not sure what he means by that. The new Kingsdale connector is open. This quarter-mile soft surface trail connects Sugar Bridge to Tunnel Vision and the Kingsdale Recreation Area, eliminating the need to use Chelsea to traverse north to south. Plus, it's a great trail for hiking, bird watching, and dog watching. Ride with caution. Areas for review. Blowing Springs Greenway Trail has 2 gravel washout areas between the first parking lot and Houston Road. Intersection at Low Ride directly behind camper cabins. This area needs a water bar to direct drainage to culvert that runs under the BSGT. Wash area behind Gear Garden bathrooms. He states that, but I don't see a comment included with that. This was sent with a format that my computer unfortunately doesn't transpose well, so a little hard to read. Area from the front parking lot to the Gear Garden needs brush maintenance on the trail and road, which will require a 3 to 5 foot area to be removed. Safety is a concern as you're walking around the turns along the BSGT. Let's see, contacts, 2 contacts. Campground guest extremely pleased with the amenities. 2 guests walking on the weekend expressed brush growing over the trail. Also lots of bikes on the trail causing concern for dog walkers and their leashed pets getting tangled up with bike traffic. And that's all I have.
So Robert, I know you're just reporting on that for our other committee member. There are washout areas that are always going to be part of the issues with Blowing Springs. We cannot really mitigate that given the floods and all that.
Okay.
So we're aware of some of those areas, but that's also part of sort of living in Bella Vista. So we're aware of it, but we could do something for a moment. Don't think that it's going to last. The same thing happens on the Greenway, which is what he was talking about. When you have a rain, you're going to have rocks and whatnot. We don't have anybody that's hardcore sweeping. That's really probably a volunteer job. But they could be doing it one day and the next day it's going to be back. Unfortunately, that's, most of our trails don't have that issue, but there's some areas that do. So the FAST group have been concentrating on some of the other heavier stuff, but I will try and ask Trey about anybody that's adopted the trail near Blowing Springs. Maybe they can look for some of that stuff.
Great. All right, next up is a gun range update. Tom has the floor.
All right, we haven't provided an update in a little bit because it took us a while to get ownership of the additional land that we needed. We didn't get ownership until June 12th, I think it was. But you'll see a couple of our guys out there on Friday working away in the hard hats. And that's on the pistol side that they're working, you can see. Just a quick review. This is the plans for the rifle side, and you'll see that we're adding berms to the right. There previously was no berm to the right. We're enhancing the berm on the left and enhancing the berm at the end or the shooting end. And then you'll notice the four baffles that we'll add. And so this is the progress that we've made. If you haven't been out there recently, you can see that the new berm on the right-hand side is rather significant. The one in the back is much larger than it used to be. And I'm just pointing out with those 2 arrows, 2 locations that need a little additional dirt. You don't want to have that one berm in the back to kind of taper off. When they're all done, it's going to look like it's all one solid line across so that we can't sneak a bullet through that small opening. And on the left-hand side, we're going to raise that center berm just a little bit more. To date, they have moved 1,000 loads of dirt. and we're not talking a pickup load, we're talking a big load. So they've moved a huge amount of dirt. So very impressive work. No baffle work on this side yet because of all the heavy construction going on. This is on the Pistol side, and you'll see that we have the location of the berm and then the baffle, and we've actually modified it a little bit from the original plans. You know, you start with the plans and then you start working in the field and you realize the plans have to be modified a little bit. And so on the left-hand side of your picture is the shooting line. The right-hand side is the target. On the farthest point away will now be the left-hand berm, so that's brand new. And where the writing is on the bottom, where it says additional berm added on the right side, basically where that print is will eventually be a berm, so you'll be shooting into a horseshoe, just like at the rifle side, you'll be shooting into a horseshoe. So once again, made a lot of good progress so far, and you can see some of the one of the guys up and getting ready to raise up and hold those beams in place as we get them set. This is the baffles as they're just, you know, the holes are rather deep and they're going to be poured with concrete, so they won't be at those fun angles. But they're just getting started on doing that, and you'll see how it's going to actually wrap from the right side and then go in front, and then there will be a second row after that that's further down range. And so by wrapping it like that, it'll keep any rounds from going to the right. So we're trying to protect, you know, accidental discharges from going in absolutely the wrong direction. Now, what's really interesting is at standing at the shooting line and visualizing where they're gonna actually cut those support beams off, so they won't go quite as tall, but they're gonna cut them off. But the level that they're gonna cut them off at, and when you're standing at the shooting line, you will not see blue sky. And that's our goal, is you can't shoot over. You're gonna either see the roof or you're gonna see the baffle, and that's it, one or the other. So they're really doing impressive work, and all this work is all the dirt moving, the putting in the supports for the baffles, all this is in-house labor. So we're doing it very efficiently and cost effectively. Here's another view, and you can see those supports are 6 by 6?
8 by 8.
8 by 8, so they're stout. So you can see the guys working on getting those set. You can see a couple of them have been set in place before the concrete is poured. Now, this is an overhead satellite image of the range. This was taken in January or February of this year. So on the left-hand side of your screen is the rifle side, and on the right-hand side is the pistol side. And you'll notice there used to be a large area in the middle that was overgrown. If you'd ever been out there, it was overgrown and kind of nasty looking. Well, we've now cleared it out, and we realized, here's it all cleared out, and we're looking into the potential of adding an archery range in that center area, which has been something that has been asked for quite a bit. Now, I included no guarantees, but it's looking pretty good at this point. I personally didn't realize how much space we had between the two ranges. So earlier we saw, when we were looking at the rifle range, we saw the left-hand portion of this berm, and now we're seeing the right-hand portion of the same berm. So it's quite a bit open. And here's a kind of a loose graphic. So you see there's the archery portion of it. on the far left, and then that dirt line would be where the berm would be, and we would have 6 shooting stations, and it would be approximately 45 to 50 yards long. And then I mentioned earlier the side berm that had not yet been built, and that would be the location of that side berm, which then creates that horseshoe for the pistol side. And then the potential archery range would have 6 shooting stations, 45 to 50 yards long. Now, just keep in mind that in many cases, our archery range is a rather quiet location, but this is going to be right next to the pistol side, so you're probably going to have to wear ear protection. But the good benefit of this is we already have a check-in hut. We already have restroom facilities. We already have the ability to monitor and control. We already have all that in place, so putting it there and having pistol, rifle, and archery all at one location, it's really a wise thing to do. And the way they've designed it is such that we want to make sure that individuals with pistols don't shoot at the archery range, but also that those that are shooting archery, it doesn't impact anybody else. And they will probably have to abide by the exact same rules, meaning when the range goes cold, which is you're going out to get target, that'll be the exact same for archery. So when we go to cold, all 3 areas will go cold at the exact same time. That way we have real good control to increase safety. So kind of a neat addition there. And also, we've removed that old building. Everybody would always go by and say, hey, what's that old building for? And that was the previous location of the gun range
In the 80s, late 80s.
in the 80s, and it was really worthless. So now it looks like nothing at all. So that building is gone. It wasn't serving any purpose. We'll grass this area in and so forth. So they've made a lot of progress since we acquired the land on June 12th. We still have a long way to go, and at this point we're not willing to give any timeline because you know how projects go, they always get delays, but they're making a lot of good progress. We're very pleased with how the team is doing. They were very relieved to get a little bit relief in weather, although that's going to be short-lived, but making good progress. So we'll continue to give updates every month, and at some point when it makes sense, we'll start doing pre-opening tours, because we do that at a lot of our facilities that we're working on. We like to show what we're doing, the work as it's being done, and let everybody know. So very pleased with how the team is doing. Any questions? Great.
All right, Tom, thank you for that. Next up is a Trailblazer monthly usage stats by Joan.
Unfortunately, I haven't received those from the city yet, so I'll try and report double next month.
All right,
on
thank you.
July and August.
Next up is the Joint Advisory Committee training, once again, from Tom.
Sorry to dominate your meeting. So we give this training every year for new and for returning committee members. It's a good refresher course for returning. And here we go. Now we're going to be giving this exact same presentation Wednesday at 2 o'clock for the Lakes Committee and Wednesday at 4 o'clock for the golf. So if you really enjoy this presentation, you can go and see it a second time or a third time even. We'll be selling tickets. It's that hot of a commodity. So the purpose is to provide advice and recommendations to management and the board of directors, and we saw that today with you guys giving reports and what needs to be looked at and talking to the members and so forth. And just notice that I referenced policy 1.04. I'll reference that multiple times. That policy is available on our website. The structure is the Joint Advisory Committee reports directly to the board of directors. Pretty straightforward there. Liaisons, the board will assign at least 2 liaisons to act as intermediaries, and we have, I thought we had 3. He just left. We have 2 today, but you'll notice that we intentionally put the liaisons to the side. They're not supposed to be here leading the meeting. They're here to observe and interact, but on a limited basis, and that's done intentionally. They're a conduit, but they're not overshadowing. Management representatives, management will assign at least 1 representative to every committee, and in this case, we have 5. 6, I forgot, I apologize. We have 6, management takes this very seriously, and we allocate enough resources to make sure that we get all the information that we need. So the joint advisory committees are expected to submit their monthly minutes and provide a brief report to the board of directors. JRECs are encouraged to send a representative to the meeting. Alternatively, a summary can be sent to the corporate secretary. So we like it when a representative from the committee comes to the board at the regular meeting, which is on the 4th Thursday of the month, and gives a formal report. And you can leave immediately after giving the report. It's at the very beginning of the meeting, and you can leave right away. Unfortunately, a lot of times they send in reports, but we really encourage the committees to be there. Advisory. So the board, directors, and management we put a tremendous amount of value on your recommendations. But with that being said, it is advisory. So we want to make sure the committee understands it's a joint advisory committee, and key on the word advisory. And recording, we record all these, see all the cameras, and we have someone in there live streaming it. And we mention that just because you're on camera. Watch your language, how you act, so forth. It's preserved. The internet, my daughter told me, the internet is written not in pencil, but in permanent ink. And so just be careful and be aware. Open meetings. So our meetings are open. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody in attendance, but they're always welcome to attend. We have the microphone there, and we encourage people to, but they don't. Now, subcommittees, and we're going to talk more about subcommittees, but subcommittees can be closed. But this meeting always has to be open to the membership. We record it. It's available on our website. It's there for posterity. Community input. We want to make sure that you as a committee member, you interact with the community, and you guys do that really well. You referenced, I spoke with this person and they gave me input, and I spoke with this person, they gave me. We really encourage that. You need to be a voice of the membership and interacting and getting what their thoughts are regarding how we're doing. Member open forum. So our membership can come forward and provide input. We do limit them to 3 minutes, and Jessica has the timer there, and she starts that. I think what's important is it's not an open forum. It's really them coming up and hey, I'd like you to look into this. It's a statement. And you have to be very careful to always give every person 3 minutes, because what you don't want to have happen is maybe someone comes up and they're talking about something that you really enjoy and they're really nice and everything, and you give them 5 minutes, and then the next person shows up and they're talking about something that you don't agree with, and you cut them off exactly at 3 minutes, and it looks like favoritism. So you keep everybody to 3 minutes. So what I encourage the chair to do is, thank you for coming. Glad you're able to hear. Just so you're aware, we have a 3-minute timer, and there you go. What do you have on your mind? That way you can set the expectation from the very beginning. And 3 minutes, if a person comes in with organized thoughts, 3 minutes is typically more than enough for them to convey a good, their information. If they send in an email, so sometimes we get email comments, and Jessica, our corporate secretary, can read those, and she sets the timer for herself on that. And so if the email is really lengthy and it hits 3 minutes, then she stops talking, so forth. So key here is favoritism. Keep everybody to 3 minutes. We don't want to give any impression that we like one person's opinion over someone else's opinion. Handouts, if you ever bring a handout, we do it electronically now, but if you bring a handout, everything is public. So we don't want to be, oh, this is this private thing and this is, no, we don't do that. Everything that's covered in this meeting is all public, and our membership can get their hands on. Meeting length, other than when you have someone like me talking way too much, we try and encourage the committee chair to keep the meeting to an hour and be respectful of everybody's time. Areas of concern is important. The JACs would stay within their area of concern. So, if someone comes up and starts talking about the golf courses, we encourage the chair to go, thank you, please go to the golf committee and share your thoughts, but not here at the rec committee. Financial reports and amenity pricing, while they may be under the umbrella of the rec area, those aren't areas of your concern. Your concern is, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment, is the member experience. And that's what you've done in your reports. You consistently are talking about the member experience. So you're really doing a good job on that. Uniquely compiled information. Every once in a while, we'll get a member of the community or a member of the committees, and they'll say, hey, we want you to put together this really complex report that, and it'll take us 2 days to put. No, we don't. We provide statistical information on an annual basis. We also do a lot of information monthly, but we really try and stay away from preparing uniquely compiled information. And that term is straight out of policy 1.01. Annual budget recommendations, you guys have been working on that. We ask each year that you get us that information before August 30th. They can be on capital projects. Capital projects are larger projects that are usually going to cost more than $10,000, but also you can provide input regarding operational issues. Hey, we need more supplies, we need more staffing, we need to do this or that. That's going to be operating, so we want the input. With that being said, we always encourage the JACs to be realistic with their recommendations, and their expectations. Every once in a while, someone will come up, hey, we need a new pool complex. I agree. We don't have the budget for it. And then every once in a while, they'll actually get mad at me because I am very honest and say, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So we want to make sure that we're reasonable, and the recommendations that I saw so far are exactly that. They are reasonable. Please be respectful of staff time. When you're interacting with staff, that's great, but if you're setting up, we've had a couple instances, not necessarily this committee, where they've set up and they've taken an hour of a staff member's time in a meeting and going over stuff, and no, we don't do that. Is make sure we're respectful of our staff time. They're busy and we don't want to take them away from what they need to get done. Subcommittees, if there's a particular issue that needs to be investigated or researched, the committee can set up a subcommittee. So the Lakes Committee has done this a couple times. We want you to look into wake boats. We want you to research it. So go and research this issue for us and come back to us and report on what your findings are. You can't have more than 4 members on a subcommittee, because once you get to 5, you get to a majority, and then you might as well have a committee meeting. So no more than 4. The meeting can be open to the community or it can be closed. It's at their choice. No minutes are taken. The recommendations for the subcommittee are not binding upon the JAC, but usually when you have 3 or 4 members on the subcommittee, usually that's the way they go. But it's a great way for you guys for the committee to research an issue in a little bit more depth without pulling together everybody. So it's at your disposal. I mentioned this earlier. Your focus is on the member experience. Sometimes we can be so, we go, Joan or Jessica, they walk into the rec, every single day of the week, all summer long, and then all of a sudden they walk by something that's really glaringly obvious. It just kind of happens. And so this is your opportunity to, as a member, would go and say, hey, what about this? Someone brought up the cigarette butts. Did you guys see that and everything? Those are important things that we want to make sure that we're not missing. So from the member's experience point of view, make sure you go out there. If you are in charge of the gun range, go to the gun range, shoot, experience it as, go to the gym, work out, use pickleball courts. How do those amenities look from the member experience point of view? And many thanks. You guys are awesome. We appreciate your time and your willingness to serve our community. Thank you. Any questions? There's a written test that will happen at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Tom. We now move on to new business. Well, we're on new business. Let's see here. I had this. Okay, I'd like to make a motion now. This comes as Larry has volunteered to step up to the position of secretary. So I make a motion that we vote on that. All in favor? Well, first of all, do I have a second on that? You second that? Okay, great. Yeah. All in favor? Get a show of hands. All right. Congratulations, Larry. You're it.
Thanks.
Actually, in looking it over, I thought, this is not that tough. Actually, I'll send you some past notes that you can use as a template, maybe. Next are our board liaisons, which I see Deborah and Kathleen are both here. Did you have anything you'd like to add
I'll just
today?
add on to Tom's thanks. It takes a lot of time for what you guys do, and the community appreciates it, and you make the community a better place. So thank you to each of the volunteers. To Tom and team, if you can get a archery range out there, people have been asking for that before I even got on the rec committee. That is outstanding, whoever found a way to do it, so congratulations, and I hope it comes to fruition. And then just a question for you, Tom. I assume they're gonna seed those berms, right? Like to keep, okay, thank you. I assume so.
Yeah, we want to make sure the berms don't go anywhere every time it rains.
Yeah, thank you.
Although they did pack them down really well, but I think hydro seeding them just makes it that much better.
Thank you.
Did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. I was just gonna echo what Deborah and Tom said, just thank you. It takes a lot of time to go out and look at these amenities, look through the eyes of the members, so thank you for all that you guys do.
All right, thank you, Deborah and Kathleen. Next are our POA staff reports, and we will start with Tom.
I have spoken enough.
Okay, moving along. Rick, you're up next.
I will be brief. Last month we had over 10,000 Lake Ranger contacts. This month we are at 9,890, so our second most all time, and just shows how much our amenities are being used. Let's see. We did have an issue at Tanier Creek with the parking lot. Evidently, someone drove through the cables and broke off 2 of the posts going in, and then coming out, it looks like they chose a different route and broke off 1 more. So we have T-posts up right now holding those cables in place. We will be replacing them with cedar posts to make them look appropriate, and then it's about time to paint or to stain those anyway. So that'll all be done this fall, like Joan said, when things kind of settle down a bit. And that's the main thing for now.
All right, thank you, Rick.
I just had one comment. I had a group of 10 relatives in using the lake, and we had a couple of instances where the lake ranger came over, and they were super polite and tactful. I mean, they were really, really nice. I was kind of impressed with the way they handled.
We try to above all, we try to be polite. We don't want to. We know we're interrupting someone's good time, and we want to make sure that we are nice.
You know, they were really. I was really kind of impressed with the way they handled it. You know, people without life jackets, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to second that as well. I've had a couple contacts with lake rangers. Awesome. Like, wow, I'm not used to that.
Thank you.
Not from Bella Vista, but from other lakes. You know. Yeah. All right. Next up is John.
Well, I wanted to correct myself on the record. You asked about the post size. Those are actually 6x6. We had a material change, so the plans I was thinking of was an 8x8, but it's a 6x6 post. You were correct.
It's still steel, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, ever. Over at Trap and Skeet, thankfully, and I'm proud to say we are on par with last year's numbers for attendance. Last year was a really great year for both gun ranges up until November with rifle pistol. But we're on par, right in there with last year's numbers, so that's really good. The only thing that's kind of holding off anybody at all is weather, as everybody's probably can figure this time of year. This past Saturday, when we did have nice weather, everybody came out of the woodwork. So everybody really enjoyed Trap and Skeet that day. I feel like I have been reporting on our maintenance issues for several months now, and those do continue. It's all been major repairs this year. This last month we had a whole trap field go down, and it was a major repair. So I think that was down about a week. We had to have those parts shipped in. Under normal circumstances, I think we probably would have had to ship that machine off, or somebody would have to take it to a repair shop. Trap machine repair shops are not very common, so that would have been a lot to take one of those, but fortunately we have staff that are more than willing to accept a challenge. With Carol and Riley out there, they were able to fix that in-house with a single day of maintenance, and we've got that up and going, and so far everything seems okay. So I think we're in good shape there, and that's all I have.
Thank you, John. Last up is Joan.
And you can call me
Jessica.
Joan, but Jessica.
Yeah,
No, speaking for Joan. So as Richard had stated, Jake has gone on to come full circle for his alum at Ouachita Baptist, which we congratulate him, but he will be sorely missed. There will be a new tennis head pro and manager coming in on board probably early September. And we'd like to bring her to a meeting here coming up. So may not be September, that may be a little too early, but at least before the end of the year. But we have full confidence in her, and she has over 27 years of experience. So tennis courts 1 and 2, the resurfacing was supposed to start tomorrow. It may be delayed a week, we'll find out tomorrow, but it'll be done. And that's, of course, weather dependent, but it looks like it's going to be 90 for the next week. Youth tennis classes will start the week of September 9th, 3 different age groups. It's 8 sessions, and it'll go through October. As Larry had talked about, the campground eases up in August, the heat. It'll ramp back up in October and November, a lot in October. And in October will be our Flea in the Park. There are still limited spots for vendors. Flea in the Park will be early October, so October 4th and 5th. That's our big event where we have local vendors down there. Goes all day, we shuttle people down. It's my favorite event. And I can't remember who talked about it, but the shade structure, the pickleball players wanting some more shade structure. Robert, Yes, so that is coming. It's a 12 by 9. Now, it has been ordered, but 3 months is what we're looking at. But there will be a 12 by 9 shade structure put down there at the Metfield pickleball courts. And the Metfield pool is officially closed as of yesterday, was its last day. Kingsdale will remain open through probably mid-September, just weather dependent. And it will be open 11 to 7 p.m. every day. So I think that's it. Oh, yes, and I'm sorry, in the beach at Lake Avalon, it will be open Saturdays and Sundays through Labor Day, and then it'll be open on that Monday, Labor Day, and then it will close. So it'll be open on the weekends still. And I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Jessica. All right, before closing, I've sent out the capital budget in hopes that I would have the rankings by now. I haven't gotten all of them, so if there's any way you can get them to me by Wednesday, then I can quickly compile them and get them off for Tom. All right, are there any final comments or additions to this meeting?
I have one thing.
Sure.
I noticed at Pontoon Park at Windsor, someone has put boulders in front of where you put in your kayak. I think it's a good thing. I assume the purpose was to keep people from dropping power boats or boats that require a trailer off there. That seemed to show up a few weeks ago. And I think it's a good thing. That's where I put in. And I just wanted to comment on the report on it. So.
Thank you, Larry. You say this is at Pontoon Park on Wednesday?
Correct, yeah. Somebody put about 4 boulders in front of where you usually put in your kayaks or canoes. And I have been there when people have, backed up a trailer. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a little tight space for that. So I assume they're officially sanctioned boulders. And so that now prevents people from backing a trailer in, which I think is a good thing. Like I said, it's a really tight space for that.
That area does superficially look like a on-purpose boat ramp, so, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
no, I
not.
think it's a really, really good thing, Rick.
It was never for that to be a ramp.
Well, you handled that problem. Those boulders you're not going to put a boat trailer in there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Larry. Well, with that said, our next committee meeting is September 9th at 4 p.m. at the boardroom. And as far as I know, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.